Rabotai, welcome to another Wednesday night shiur at Lashem. Happy to see everybody. Before we start, I want to say that our shiur is R.Shalom, Sharon Tzipora, L'Braka Barno. May Hashem send their speedy recovery. And also L'Atzlachat Kol HaRavakim, Bifrat Gavriel Chai Ben Reuven Veleah Ariel Miriam, that they really do a lot, especially Gavriel Chai, and he has a lot of zuchuyot behind his back. A lot of children out there, he doesn't know. They're his his spiritual children in a good way. And a lot of people, I get sometimes I get phone calls, of people out of nowhere. They hear my lecture and we're just starting out, technically speaking. They're like, we get inspired. We want to also do something, this and that, and it's all b'zchut the person who records it and gets it out there. It's a very big zechut. May Hashem pay you back for the zechut. May you get married this year and be making bait ne'eman b'Yisrael. Another thing I want to say, very important. I always forget to say this, but today I'm going to say it. Please, Rabotai, a big part of outreach, especially we're in America, and tonight I'm going to give you statistics. I'm going to give you numbers. You guys are going to be scared what's going on out there. Scared. Okay, and the numbers I'm going to give you is from 5 years ago. We don't know how bad it's been getting. We live in the New York bubble. And so what can we do to change the state of Judaism? I'm telling you guys, not everybody is born to be a speaker. Not everybody is born to be an editor. Not everybody is born to... But Hashem created in our generation something called social media. And I said this on Shabbat. And if a president, a guy who was a real estate mogul, a casino guy, could win a presidency of the mightiest nation today that represents Rome through social media, Rabotai, imagine how many people you could bring back to Judaism through that. And all you gotta do is press one button. Share, like, send. Don't be afraid if people, while you send it, keep on sending, keep on doing it. Rabotai, this is your Olam Haba. This is your Olam Haba. Keep on sharing, keep on sending. And I'm telling you, you're doing something in Shamayim. You're doing something big. You're doing something because anyways you have all the social media. Anyways you have it for work, for your kids, for your own private pleasure. I'm not saying that it's the best thing to do. I'm not even saying that it's right. But if you have it, already use it for the good. Hashem created it for a reason. Share the links. Subscribe. Rabotai, our channel on YouTube is Lashem, Torah, and Inspiration. Subscribe to our channel. Share it with your friends. This is a new breed of lectures. This is something that the Bukharian world, at least, has not seen before. It's a new kind of lecturing. It's Sfaradi. It's something unique. It's something authentic. There is Otzot Hayim, Shar Gilgulim. We have a new lecture, Baruch Hashem. With his new lecture last week, my brother Rabbi Asher, when does God pray? A lot of good feedback. And yesterday we had over here, Rabotai, close to 15 young kids, college kids, 15 of them out of nowhere. Come. These kids could eat. I bought these guys laced it up. They just laced it. These kids eat. And it was inspirational. It was good. These kids learn a lot. They learn. They want to learn. They want to do good. So subscribe. Share Lashem, Torah, and Inspiration. You can find us on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Okay, so please do that. What can I say to you, Rabotai? What can I say? We have Chanukah in 5 days exactly, 5 days, and we have Parashat Vayeshev. If there isn't a more climatic parasha in the 5 books, there isn't. This is the parasha that makes all the parashiot. You could Rav Ovadia Yosef Zatzal, when he used to read the parasha, he was a Baal Koreh. He used to read the Torah. When he used to read this parasha in his shul in Har Nof, he used to cry when he used to read. And Shabbat, he couldn't hold himself. It's the brother selling Yosef. Yosef is sold into Egypt. Yaakov, he sees his only son. And you hear the Pesukim, Rabotai. I'm telling you, Shtay Mikra V'Achat Targum is the way to go. You hear the words of Yaakov Avinu, how he sees his son taken from his own hands, and he rips his clothing and he says, Tarof Toraf Yosef, my son has been ripped from my hands, and you can't help it but feel his pain. Every Jew could feel the pain. That's how you know. You have a nitzotz of Kedusha. And then you have the part how Yehuda goes down, and both of his sons die, and he thinks his daughter-in-law is a witch. Really, she's a tzaddik, and then she seduces her father-in-law, and she has from him sons, and they want to burn her, and he admits his guilt in front of the world. You know who Yehuda was? Yehuda was the head of the Sanhedrin, of the Bnei Noach. He was the head. He admits his guilt. You know what that is, to admit your guilt? I mean, look at Donald Trump. I mean, La'avdil Elef Havdalah, the guy has been in court cases ever since he's been, to admit one bad thing he can do. This is Yehuda ben Yaakov Avinu. He's one mistake he did. Tzadeka mimeni. She did it. It's a misirut nefesh. Sakra. And Yosef. I mean, not even to get into the picture of Yosef, what happens with his master's wife. And the other hand, 5 days is Chanukah. Chanukah? Could we even begin the subject? I mean, if I just begin, my original topic of tonight was the history of Chanukah. If I would tell you guys the history of Chanukah, you guys think it was just 5 boys, 5 high school kids. They were sons of Kohen Gadol. They, Auntie Yochos was a wicked king, like they sing in the nurseries. And they all 5 decided to take a shield, and they had nothing to do in their lives. So they just decided to put the letters Mem, Chaf, Bet, Yud, Maccabi Tel Aviv. And then they all went, and we fought, and they had mirror, and they beat a... Come on, what is a joke for you? You know what? Do you know how it happened? Do you know what led to this climatic battle? How they found that Pach Shemen, the last jug of oil, do you know what that meant? Do you know what that meant for Judaism? Do you know that holiday? We're still living in it. And I had such a battle within me. Like, what should I talk about? Chanukah or the parasha? I mean, I could speak about this parasha forever. I could speak about Chanukah. I mean, Chanukah is just around. What should I do? Both. I like that. Speak about both. It's a Jewish answer. You can't get one, you can't get the other. You got to do both.
We have always.
And I said that we had to connect the both things together. There is a connection. There has to be a connection. There must. And the one story in this parasha that we could all resonate with, that we could all connect to, that we could all relate to, is the story of Yosef HaTzadik. Why? The Gemara says in Masechet Yoma that the rabbis, Anshe Knesset, the 120 men of the Great Assembly, that's called Anshe Knesset HaGedolah, they decided that the Jews have had enough with their Yetzer Hara of women. It's too much. It's been destroying us for thousands of years. Enough is enough. So they catch that Satan, that Satan, that's in charge of that. There's a certain Satan that's in charge of that sin. They take him, they bind him, they tie him, and they cover his eye, they blindfold him. They want to see what's going to happen. The Gemara says in Masechet Yoma, the next day a chicken didn't lay an egg in Israel. What does that mean, a chicken didn't lay an egg? The Gemara says in Masechet Baba Batra, I mean, you guys have to understand, the Gemara doesn't just say a chicken didn't lay an egg. Why not just say a lion cub wasn't born, or a fly didn't have fruit flies, or lice didn't procreate? Why a chicken didn't lay an egg? The Gemara and Baba Batra, Pei Bet, I believe, says that there was a rabbi called Ezra. Ezra Sofer was a Kohen. He led the Jews back in the second diaspora. He made a takana. What's a takana? A decree. Any man that has relations with his spouse cannot say Shema Yisrael or learn Torah until he dips in the mikvah. Whoa! That means I can't go to shul, you can't go to shul, I can't touch a Torah, tefillin, nothing. Until you don't go to the mikveh, you cannot. Imagine the mikvahot today, they've been making money. I mean, they already make money, but they would be making, everybody would open up a mikveh so you could put $5 inside the slot so everybody would go in. Mikvahot would be full, right? The Gemara says back in the day, you know how many mikvahot there were? Every corner there was a mikvah. And they didn't have filtering systems. It was dirty, murky cave water. It was like you would come out dirtier than when you would go in. Once I went on a Shabbaton in New Square, I remember saying to myself, when I came out of the mikveh over there, I came out hairier than when I went in. It was full. What was going on over there? It was like soup. Hot chicken soup, but the bad kind, the spoiled kind. That's the war that was back then. And then the people used to take showers after the mikveh, and the rabbi said from now on you can't take a shower after the mikveh. Why? Because people were starting to think that it's the shower that makes them purified, not the actual mikveh. It's a spiritual cleansingness. It's not a physical cleansingness. You should know that. So Ezra said, you're not allowed to go to pray. You can't say Shema. You can't do it. You can't learn Torah until you dip inside a mikveh. Why did he do that? The Gemara says, so the Talmidei Chachamim, so people who learn Torah won't be next to their wives like roosters by a hen. The Gemara says, what do you mean? That there is one animal that likes, how you say, it likes to be with its other gender the most. Like it can't help himself. More than a lion is like every 90 seconds. That's why there's one lion for like 20 females. But a rooster, the Gemara says, oh, that thing could chirp for the whole day. That's why it starts from at midnight. Why does it start doing the kookaroo from the midnight? He's already awake at midnight. He's already starting his job over there. So could you imagine? The Gemara says, when they took that Satan and they tied him and they blindfolded him, a chicken didn't lay an egg. That means the animal that loves it the most, even it didn't want to do the act anymore. So the Gemara says if that would be the case, then no human being would have children anymore. Nobody wanted to touch a woman. Rav Nachman of Breslev says a very amazing thought, that I take this thought with me. I read this 8 years ago, at least, in Likutei Moran Chelik Bet. Rav Nachman of Breslev says when a man is confronted with this thought, should he think of the Avera? He sees the opposite gender, and he feels attracted. And he tried everything. He puts his hand on the ground. He thinks of the letters Gimel, Dalet, Shin, Nun, Aleph, Lamed. He takes a cold shower. He can't get rid of it. It gets worse. The more he tries to fight it, it gets worse. And he comes up with all this kind of heterim. It's hormonal. It's this. It's that. Got a lot of hormones. His adrenal gland is working overtime. So Rav Nachman Breslev says, listen. You should know one thing. All your Yetzer Hara for money. Yetzer Hara for food. Yetzer Hara for nice clothes. Yetzer Hara for power, for prestige, for honor, they all make sense. They all make sense. The one Satan, Rav Nachman Breslev calls it Satan HaMeshugaim, is the Satan of a crazy man, because it has no logical pretense. Is the Satan for the opposite gender. Rav Nachman Breslev says, I'll tell you why. If you would take the opposite gender, and a guy is going crazy, his mind is going nuts, it's on overdrive, he feels heated up, and then he decides to dissect the human body, piece by piece, takes the head separate, the body separate, the legs separate. Would he have any attractive ability? Would he have any way to be attracted to that thing? Only if he's mentally insane. Only if he's mentally insane. The only time your Yetzer Hara works is when it all comes together. And the reason is, Rav Nachman Breslev, because this Satan, he's such a crazy Satan that he shows you that he's crazy. He shows you that you're nuts. He shows you that it doesn't make sense. But he still makes you fall and he loves it. He shows you that he doesn't make sense, but he still makes you fall. And that's his joy. That's the Satan's joy. So what did the rabbis do when they saw that nobody was procreating? They took an arrow and they popped out one of his eyes. The Gemara says, what did that cause? That no man would have any feelings for his close relatives. Mother, sister, grandmother, mother-in-law. That killed that by popping out one of its eyes. And the Gemara says in Masechet Kiddushin, Daf Chaf Tet, that the younger you get married, the younger you get married, the less of a satan you have for the other stuff. The younger you get married. The older you get married, the more mituma, the more deep engrossed you are in that Yetzer Hara. Now, when does this Yetzer Hara pop inside a human being? I want to ask you guys. When is it the hottest? What age?
13.
The teens, right? I mean, psychologists say that. Adolescent psychology. It's one thing I remember about Vorotai Rabim. Adolescent psychology. How do I remember? Because our professor for adolescent psychology, her name was Princess Coombs. There's no way in the world you could forget a name like that. Princess Coombs. I mean, who names their kid Princess for the love? Okay. So we had a professor, okay? The height of a person's hormonal peak is when he's 17 years old. When you're 17, that's when you have to start stalking your kids. That's when they do the worst stuff. Boys and girls. That means if you put a boy and a girl, in an isolated island, when will his peak, like just out of nowhere, just start going crazy? When he's 17. That's the peak. It starts when they start becoming 13, 14, 15. It starts growing. 17, it hits the peak. The peak ends at 20. Then at 20, it starts to slowly descend.
What?
The age of 20. It's still high, but it starts to descend. 17 is the strongest. Don't be scared here. When was Yosef HaTzadik sold into slavery? 17 years old. The Torah makes sure to point it out. Yosef ben... What? The Torah is a book of genealogy. It's a book of chronological order. Yosef ben Shvais Reshana. Shkoyach. He's 17 years. Why are you telling me 17? Because I want to know how old the other people were? What? No. He's 17. His blood is boiling. He's a kanai. You know what a kanai is? He's zealous. He wants to rule. He wants to do everything. Oh, he's such a beautiful boy. Such features. Looked exactly like his mother, Rachel. Exactly like his mother. What does the Torah say? Verachel hayta yefat to'ar v'yefat mareh. She was such a beautiful woman. Leah? Enei le'arakot. The Gemara says, where is a woman's beauty? In her eyes. In her eyes. The eyes have a very big koach mishicha. Do you know an ostrich, at least one species of an ostrich could lay its eggs just by looking at it. Ayin hara is real. You have power coming out of your eyes. It's power. There's power. So enei le'arakot. Leah's, they're twins, by the way. But Leah's eyes are droopy. She cried so much, all of her eyelashes fell. Rachel, oh, yefat to'ar, yefat mareh. Why? What happens? His brothers, they get a bit jealous. Not jealous because, oh, how come Papa gave him attention? These are 30-year-old men. This isn't, they're married with kids. They don't care if Papa gave Yosef attention. They don't care. They wanted to make sure that Yosef wouldn't be the sole heir of the Torah. They were afraid that they would be pushed to the side, just like Yishmael and Esav were. They didn't want Yosef to take the kingship. They wanted there to be democracy. Everybody takes a share. We're 12 brothers, we're 12 tzaddikim. Shimon and Levi, they're the hot-headed ones. They said, what's the question? They're Kanaim. There's always 3 sects in Judaism. There's the Kanaim, those are the zealots. Then there is the smart, the Chachamim. You know what the Chachamim are? The one that come up with all the good ideas, like they think they're being smart. Then there is the people in the middle who don't say anything. Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yosef. Shimon and Levi, they said, kill him. Why? He's a rodef. You know what a rodef is? He's coming to kill us. He wants to make us into Esav and Yishmael. Kill him. Halachically speaking, it's allowed. Kill him. Yehuda said, no, let's be smart. Sell him. We won't kill him. We'll sell him. If God is with him, he'll be saved. If God isn't with him, then you're right, kill him. he didn't take into proportion that if you take the most beautiful jewel and you put it inside dung, inside feces, after a while it's not going to look like a jewel. If you take a Jewish soul and you put it inside public school, no matter if it has a soul from the world of Atzilut, after a while it's going to come from the Klippa. You should know that. No matter how beautiful a soul is, there will always be a result, an effect from public school, from bad surroundings. It's a very big question in sociology. Right? Nature versus nurture. And the truth is they both affect the child, but always you should know one thing. Nurture always has the upper hand. Always. Because you take a Rasha and you put it inside a Tzaddik's house, Yishmael died doing Teshuvah. Yishmael! But if you take a Tzaddik and you put it inside Avi Avot Tum'ah, inside a place of Tum'ah, what's going to come out of him? Not just a Rasha, the best Rasha. The best. And Yehuda didn't take that into perspective. He sold him. They agreed, sell him. Why? Let the blame fall on Yehuda. He was the king. He was the king of the brothers. The young boy, 17 years old, he doesn't just get sold. He gets sold like a dog. The Midrash says when they took Yosef down, think about it. They take a 17-year-old boy, a beautiful kid, he didn't even grow any facial hair yet. They take him up from the a pit filled with snakes and scorpions, and suddenly a bunch of Arabs of the Avodah Zarah are counting bills. How many bills? $20. That's how much they spent on him, $20. It's the steal of a lifetime. And he's begging at his brother's feet. He's begging him. It took time till the transactions. He says, brothers, please have mercy. Don't sell me. My father, what is he going to say? What are you going to say to my... And they're ignoring him. Like nothing's happening. Like he deserves what's happening to him. And he's crying, please, don't do it. And they take him by force. A young boy, they take his hair and they cut off his hair, his locks, his pe'ot. And they take him down and he passes by his mother's grave. She was buried in Bethlehem. The Arab caravan passed by his mother's grave and they stopped for a drink of water and he fell down on his mother's tomb. And he said, Ima, don't let them take me to Mitzrayim. Please, let them kill me. Ima, please, don't let them take me down to Mitzrayim. Let them kill me. And he hears of his mother's voice coming from inside the grave, says the Midrash, and she says to him, my son, I'm with you, don't worry. I'm with you. There is a reason why you're going down there. There is a reason that only you can do this. I'll be with you. And he's crying and they take him down to Egypt. And who buys him? The biggest homosexual person in the world. Potiphar. Fat belly. Mishukatz. He was a butcher. Not just a butcher for meat, a butcher for bodies. Mishukatz. Mitu'av. Malezima. Tole'ah. He buys Yosef. The Midrash says he didn't buy Yosef because he thought he would be a good worker. He bought Yosef so he could be his toy at night. Could you imagine? You know what kind of neshama was Yosef? He was the Yesod, the foundation of all the worlds. He was the Sfira. He represents the Sfira of Yesod. If you guys listen to my Shar Gilgulim Shiur, he was the Yesod. He fell into the hands of the biggest Avot HaTum'ah. His brothers sold him. Shimon and Levi want to kill him. He falls in the hands of Potiphar. He didn't get to breathe and say Baruch She'amar until this dog, his master's wife, comes from behind. And she wasn't just a regular woman. What was her name, by the way, guys? What does the Midrash say? What was her name? Zuleika. You guys are great. But her name was not Zuleika, it was Zuleika. I'm kidding. Her name was Zuleika. Well, technically speaking, it's also Zuleika. And she sees Yosef. Now Yosef, a slave, who's attracted to a slave? Why? He's dirty, disgusting. But anything that Yosef touches, gold. He's like he has the golden thumb of King Midas. This guy, everything that he touches is successful. Unbelievable. He works with the animals, successful. Works in the house, successful. Accountant, successful. Doctor, success. Everything's successful. Somebody that's successful is very attractive. It's a very attractive person. He was himself. She decides to seduce him. Barmina, lo aleinu, lo alam Yisrael. Once I was in a class of high school kids, one kid said, Chas v'shalom, amen. So she's decided to dress 3 different dresses a day. Some women till today have this minhag to keep on changing their dresses by the day. She's such a beautiful woman, and it's not just the beauty, it's the Satan. The Gemara says in Masechet Nedarim, Daf Tzadik Aleph, the last sentence, Mayim gnuvim yimtaku. Water that you steal is sweet. If you want to taste water that's sweet, steal it. Anything that you steal is sweeter. And she's seducing him day by day. Velo shama elei, I didn't listen to her. Liot itzlab, to be with her and to lie with her, the Torah says. What do you mean? To be with her and to lie with her. To be with her in this world and to lie with her in the next world. Anyone that's with a goya, don't think it's a one-night stand. You're with her forever. In the next world too. He didn't listen to her. How long? For 1 year. I don't know about you guys. I don't know how many men would stand for 17 years old. For 1 year. Until that fateful day. And that fateful day, the Torah says, Vayehi kehayom hazeh. And it was on that day. What does that mean, and it was on that day? I'm going to tell you a beautiful midrash. Yosef HaTzadik, on that day, why does the Torah specify that day? That day he said, Bas. My brothers wanted to kill me. They sold me. Nobody came to look for me. I was sold to Potiphar, and his mistress is coming after me. I'm done with you, Hashem. I'm done. On that day, he was going to give everything up. Nobody was at home. Perfect opportunity. And he was in the house, la'asot melachto, to do his work. That's a secret code word for to do his work. He was ready to say to Hashem, enough. You leave me, I'm going to leave you too. What is this? I can't take this anymore. Throw me a bone here. He gets to the room, and Zulicha is waiting over there, and she grabs him. And the Gemara says that he went inside the bed with her, and he looked at the window, and he saw his father's reflection, and he ran out of the room. When he saw his father, he said, Hashem might leave me. Everyone wants to kill me. I'm a slave. But I'm still my father's son. My father put 17 years inside of me. He raised me. He sent me into yeshiva. For what? This is the moment that's going to define me. He saw his father's image in the window. He got up and he left. And he went to jail for 12 years. Not only did God not clap for him, but he sent him to jail for 12 years. I want to tell you guys a secret. Secrets. The Gemara says, because of 3 mitzvot, the Jews came out of came out of Egypt. 3 mitzvot. They were Ovdei Avodah Zarah, Shpichut Damim. But there's one thing they didn't do inside Egypt. They didn't change their names, they didn't change their clothing, and they didn't intermarry. They didn't assimilate. 210 years they lived in the worst society in the world. The Rambam says in Hilchot Isurei Be'ah, all of homosexuality, men and women, came from Egypt. Everything came from Egypt. They were the first ones after the flood to do it openly. For 210 years, not one intermarried. I'm sorry. One woman did. One woman, and the Torah names her Shlomit Bat Divri. And her son was the one who cursed Hashem. And Rabbi Yehuda Ptaya says he came back as a Gilgul, as Yoshka. One woman did it. One. The Mefarshim asked a bomb question. I read this question, I was shaking. Where did they get the power, these idol worshippers, not to assimilate for 210 years? From Yosef HaTzadik. That's called an atomic mitzvah. When you do a mitzvah for all your life, for all your eternity, with all your might, you leave an impression in that state, in that country, in that universe. Yosef HaTzadik's act of bravery was so atomic that it left an impression for the Jews for 210 years. And for 210 years, every time a Jew wanted to be with a Goya, you know what he said? No. Why? Because Yosef said no. Unbelievable! I don't have a word. You know, we went to Ukraine. When you go to Ukraine, when you drive in, remember when you drove in Ukraine, you have all these places that are dead, right? You can't go in there. And you ask the driver over there, and you ask him, how come you can't go? How come everything is dead? What does he say? Chernobyl, right? Chernobyl happened 30 years ago. The atomic reactor blew up. Till today, it's radioactive. Till today in Egypt, no Jew will ever assimilate. Because Yosef said no to Potiphar's wife. That's called an atomic mitzvah. That's called an atomic bomb. That one act caused a result, an effect throughout generations. Now I want to read you guys some numbers. Ever since October 2013, in this great country where religious freedom, United States of America, Artzot Habrit, the great eagle, in God we trust. There's 7 million Jews. Out of those 7 million Jews, ever since October 2013, two-thirds, that's almost 4 million, they don't raise their kids Jewish. Did you just hear what I said? Forget about intermarriage, forget assimilation. 2/3, as of October 2013, of American Jewry don't raise their kids with a Jewish identity. The numbers don't stop there. Assimilation. Ever since October, this is 5 years ago. 5 years ago. What's the rate of intermarriage? 58%. According to the Pew Research of Jews, 58% of American Jewry intermarry, over 40% into the Catholic religion. Did you just hear what I said? And in Germany, the numbers reached 50%. And they said, oh, because they We're way past that. We're at 58% 5 years ago. 5 years ago. And just to show you how fast these numbers are growing, in 1990, the numbers were 43%. That means from 1990 to 2013, that's 23 years, the numbers went up by 14%. Do you know what that is? It's a generation of Jews. In 1970, the numbers were only 17%. In 1970, it was 17. 1990, it was 43%. 2013, it's 58%. I'm not making these numbers up. Google it today. And I'm sure 100%, and I wouldn't say this if I'm 100% sure, the numbers are up close to 65% today. And in states like Colorado, Jewish assimilation in Colorado is over 80%. Over 80% of Jews in Colorado assimilate. And California is not that far behind. And New York is building its, it's catching up. There's close to 4,000 students in Forest Hills High School. About 1,700 are Jews. Bukharian Jews. You know what that is? 1,700. They don't get a Jewish education. They don't wear tefillin. They don't know what tefillah is. They don't care. They don't know what God. They don't know what Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov are. They have never cared to know why we fast on Yom Kippur. They just do it because their father did. And it's a national holiday. All schools are off on Yom Kippur. That's why they fast. Among secular Jews, just secular Jews, the rate of assimilation in 2013 was already at 74%. Secular Jews. You don't have to believe me. 74% among secular Jews. That means the previous number was including the Orthodox. You don't have to believe me. Ask any barber who works in Long Island. How many of their clients are married to Goyim, or one of their parents is Goyim? My wife. It's with a sad heart I say this. When she was in school, she was taking a rotation in one of the Long Island hospitals. The woman that was in charge of her rotation, pharmacist, head of the pharmacy department in one of the hospitals, she was married to an Israeli Jewish guy. And she was a Catholic. And her friend, same department, she was married to an Ashkenazi Jewish guy. This is in Long Island. And she was a Kritmach, Catholic. Over 40% of intermarriage of Jews in America are into the Catholic belief system. In my building, when you come inside, every building I think is like this. You have a menorah and you have a Xmas tree. You know what I told my wife this morning? I said, don't take the kids in from the front. Take them in from the back. Take them in from the back. We live in the New York bubble. We think we're living in good times. We're living in every time you press share on their WhatsApp, every time you press forward, every time you press send, every time you subscribe, you're saving lives. I'm telling you. You're saving lives. You don't know. I'm going to tell you something even more scarier right now. 35% of American Jews are Reform. They say they're Reform. That's not the scary part. 30% of American Jews say they have no denomination. They're nothing. What? Nothing? You know what that is? It's like spiritual suicide. They don't have a shul. They don't have a place to go. Rabotai, we're living in a bubble. Conservative Jews make up 18% of American Jewry. How much do Orthodox make up? 10%. Yeah, we live in a bubble. You think Jewry in America is a borough park in Williamsburg. I'm telling you guys, that's 4 blocks. That's 4 blocks. And I'm going to tell you a secret. Out of those 10% Orthodox, today, it's much less. It's much less. I'm telling you. We're living in very turbulent times. Very scary times. We need a Yosef. We need a guy to cause an atomic mitzvah. But we're out of those. We're out of them. They don't exist. Those tzaddikim are gone. Lubavitcher Rebbe passed away. Rav Steinin passed away. Rav Ovadia passed away. These were the last remnants of a great generation. Today, what's inside the Jewish minds, in the Orthodox Jewish minds, who's going to win the mayor of Jerusalem? The heck cares? I was watching like, why do I care? Who's the mayor of Jerusalem? And they fight. Fist fight. Who cares who's the mayor of Jerusalem? There are people dying. What does this have to do with Chanukah, guys? What does this have to do with Chanukah? Welcome. Rav Shimshon Maastropolia, one of the great European rabbis who died by Chemleniski, Yimach Shemo v'zichro. He says something amazing. Antiochus, the king of the Syrian Greeks, the numerical value of his name is 156. Yosef is the numerical value 156. Melech Yavan, the king of Greece, has a numerical value 156. Yosef has the numerical value 156. Rabotai, I'm going to tell you something. The Greeks only had one thing in mind. Kill Yosef. Kill this zchut of Am Yisrael. I'm going to explain to you, and I'm going to tell you guys a chidush. It's my chidush. Maybe it's not. Maybe somebody else wrote it, but who knows? It's thousands of Sfarim. The Greeks decided the Jews can't do 3 things, Tzaddik. They cannot have a Brit Milah, they can't keep Shabbat, and they can't keep New Month, which really means Mikvah. When do Talmidei Chachamim have to be with their wives? On Shabbat. What does a woman do before she's with her husband? Go to the mikvah. She has a child after 8 days. What does she do to him? A Brit Milah. Antiochus only had one thing in mind. Assimilate the Jews so they won't have any more kids. No more Jewish kids. No more marriages. No more anything. That was all 3 of his decrees was against Yosef. That's it. No marriages, no Jewish kids, no Brit Milah, no Shabbat, no mikveh, nothing. That was his decrees. The first mitzvah in the Torah is what? Pururvu, have children, get married. And you cannot have children unless you get married. And before the girl gets married, she goes to the mikveh. And when does the Gemara say is the Onava Talmid Chacham? On Shabbat. And the person has a child, when does he make a Brit Milah? On the 8th day. This is what Antiochus wanted to stop. Any Jewish guy who doesn't want to get married, who's single, and his focal point in his life is not to get married. That means he doesn't pray for Parnasah. He doesn't pray for... He's willing to say to Hashem, take everything from me as long as I get married. He's still under the klipa, the shell of Yavan, of Antiochus. He's not under Yosef. Every single guy out there has to have only one thing in mind. Shacharit, Mincha, Aravit, Hashem, send me my bat zug. That's it. If you don't do that, Your Chanukah candles is still Antiochus. You're still living in Greece. Va'ed. You're still living in Greece. That means before you put on your tefillin in the morning, what do you say? Hashem, please help me get married. You put on tefillin, get married. Hashem, you think, Shema Kolenu, Hashem, help me get married. I'm sick of praying for it already. That's what Antiochus wanted from you. You want to be Yosef? Same numerical value, Antiochus and Yosef. Now my words, Magalei Amukot. You want to get married? The Gemara says, if a person gives tzedakah and he says, my son should live a long life, he's a tzaddik. He's a tzaddik. Don't be too righteous. Don't think because I'm doing mitzvot for a reason, I'm not righteous. It's like nothing. No, wrong. I'm doing a mitzvah so I should get married. And when I get married, that's when my real life begins. That's when everything starts. Nadav and Avihu died, says the Zohar, for one reason. The sons of Aaron and Cohen, when they went inside the Kodesh. For one reason only. I'm telling you this straight up. It's the first siman in the Shulchan Aruch Even HaEzer. They weren't married. You must get married. Go to Rochester, go to Amuka, go to I don't know, Rav Yosef ben Rav Yaakov ben Rav Dov. Go to all the tzaddikim. I don't care. You gotta wear your tefillin. Say, Hashem, help me get married. There is nothing else. You need to get married. You need to have kids. This is Chanukah. 58% assimilation. That's Chanukah. We're still living in Chanukah, by the way. The Maccabees never won. This is why the Israeli Jews, the Zionists, what did they do? Why do they call themselves Zionists? In Hebrew, Tzion, gematria, numerical value, Yosef, 156. They want nothing more. What do? They bring in the Russian Jews, assimilation. They bring in the Eritreans from the Africa, assimilation. In Israel, what do they call themselves? Maccabi Tel Aviv, Maccabi Yerushalayim. The most illogical thing in the world, the most secularized holiday in the world is Chanukah. And the one holiday that stands against everything secular is what? Chanukah. Is there anything more crazy? 58% assimilation. Chanukah. What are you going to do about it? Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Hanan ben Akashia.